work. Here we go. All right, so Dig the Falls live again Tuesday. We go live every Tuesday, or try to. Some Tuesdays we miss, but we are Dig the Falls. We are focusing on getting out on the trails, getting you out on the trails, cleaning up trails, creating them, volunteering, everything. So we've been around since 2005, and we are continuing to try to get out there and do as much good as we can to get as much people out there as we can. I'm Edward Smathers, founder of Dig the Falls, and I've got Bobby from Bobby's Waterfalls on me right now. Bobby, you want to give yourself an introduction?
I'm, as you said, I'm Bobby with Bobby's Waterfalls. I have a website out there that you folks can take a look at, and they only include places that I actually been to. That's all I have on there. Been doing it for quite a few years. Hopefully I got a few more years left to do so. In the meantime, I enjoy working with Dig the Falls.
Yeah, and you do a lot for us, so definitely appreciate it a lot. We couple really short updates just to kind of get those out there. Our store is live. We've got some t-shirts and stuff. We're going to be adding more to it. It is nysfalls.com, and you can just go in there, check things out, share it if you like. If you like any of this stuff, share it with your friends. But that's live. We removed it from the main site because we're having so many troubles with the main site. The main site now is actually up and running. It's doing really well. It should be fast for you. If you have any troubles whatsoever with the main site now, please reach out, because we want to make sure that it's up and running for everyone now. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the Steps app tonight. Bobby, I know you had a couple of things that you wanted to talk about as well, right?
Sure. Sure.
So basically what I wanted to do is, as everyone knows, I've mentioned the Steps app a couple of times in the last several episodes, live sessions, and I'm happy to announce that right now we have over 220 members on the map that we've created on the Steps app. So if you go to the App Store and you type in Steps Map My World, it will actually come up. It's a little blue square with a little white foot is the logo for it. We're really pretty excited for that, because what we're going to start doing with that app is we're going to start using that to help people get out to these locations. And right as of now, you can still add your own locations. Like if you guys, get out there and you find a park that you love, put it up on there, post it up on there. We'd love to see where you guys are headed, where you've been, some of the photos, if you want to pop up photos as well. Pretty soon, once we reach a certain amount of members, we're going to slow it down and kind of pull that feature for the time being, just so that we can make sure that we don't have too many posts that we have to administrate, because there are spammers out there, so we just want to make sure we're not catching any of that. Keep an eye out on that. We've got almost 200 locations on there right now. There's lots more coming, so keep your eyes open. Bobby, this is actually a big one, because you brought it up just before the broadcast, but the leaves are falling, and the trails are getting a little. You don't really think about leaves falling and it being more dangerous, but I think it's fair to spend a little bit of time on this subject, right?
I would say that more so be very careful of the pine needles.
The pine needles, okay.
I feel that they are more slippery.
Yep.
And you combine that with the leaves, yep, and they can cover things that you would walk on that you wouldn't know what's underneath. Mm-hmm. And the reason why that came to mind, which I didn't bring that into the equation, mm-hmm, moss-covered areas.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because what crossed my mind is I was looking into stuff that was not on ready to go on the Steps app yet.
Yeah.
And Twitchell Creek in Waterfalls
Mhm.
was a location that you park up at the lake and you have to walk back down the dirt road. Well, you know how you always listen for the water, because we didn't really know where the trail entry was. So we heard running water. So we cut into the woods, which turned into a bushwhack. But when we stood still, we heard water under our feet. And it felt like we were on rocks, but we were on rocks. But it was all moss covered, leaves, pine needles. So I had to have the person that was with me get the grandchildren back out of where I had gone in. I mean, I found the waterfall, the cascade in that section.
Yeah.
You did not absolutely know what you were walking on. We heard the water under our feet.
Wow.
So imagine that it's covered over the rocks and the boulders and stuff, and you're just trucking along.
Right.
So even not in that kind of scenario, but just the regular fall leaves, the regular fall season. You really don't know what's under your feet. Stop and listen.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I had the kids out today on the trail, and local easy trail, whatever. But same thing. You're walking on those leaves. It gets loud. You don't really hear things around you when you're walking on those crunchy leaves. So I can see where you could kind of go into a spot like that, not even realize it. And kind of a funny story from my childhood. My dad used to take us out hunting all the time. So, late fall, early winter time. And it was this particular time, it was when there was still a little bit of snow on the ground, but not enough to cover all the leaves. So, so everything's slippery. You can't see what's underneath your feet, layer of leaves. And I was in the back. My sister was in the middle, and my dad was in the front, and he's walking through, and we're all being very quiet, or as quiet as we can be. And out of nowhere, my sister just drops to the ground and starts screaming. And what she had done, I don't know where this hole came from, but her foot had fallen through a hole up to basically almost her waist. It was just the one foot. Yeah.
Yes.
And you couldn't see it because of the leaves. She just dropped right into it. And it was cold, and it was filled with water, as it would be. So we wound up cutting the hunting trip short because of it. So, but you could imagine somebody that was walking a little more briskly through that area, not worrying about the sound that they're making, that would have ended pretty badly, because you could have definitely injured your knee that way, hyperextended your knee, whatever. So what I would suggest in these situations, number one, Bobby, you stop me if you disagree, because you've got a lot of experience in this too. Number one, trekking poles. I've been seeing those a lot more lately, and I've never used them. I should, but those are really valuable when you're actually hiking in a trail and you're really unsure what's underneath your feet. Number two would be proper footwear. Get something with grip, and then number three would be layers. Lots and lots. Have layers. So whether you have layers when you leave the house, or have layers inside your pack, so you can put layers on, are really important. So
you bring up trekking poles.
Yeah.
I have trekking poles out in the shed.
Mm-hmm.
They've been out there for years.
Okay.
And I honestly have to state, as many times as I've been told, bring the trekking poles.
Okay.
Bring the trekking poles.
Yeah.
I honestly have to say, I don't use trekking poles. But I do have hiking boots with very good tread. You got your pack. And what I found, because you got to stop to think, if I have a trekking pole in one hand and a camera in the other,
right,
I found for myself that I like to snap way too many pictures all along, and I kept finding that I was putting the trekking pole, I need my hands free. And not
Right.
only that, with my shoulder, even if you have a trekking pole, if you slip, I need this free hand to grab something.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So everyone has got to use their own judgment.
Right.
Crossing water, I was actually glad the person I was with shared one of the trekking poles because that actually helped
Okay.
give you some balance, when the water pushes me around.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think the proper thing is you should have trekking poles, but again, I didn't.
Yeah, but the thing is like I think it's like me, I mean, like I know that okay, you shouldn't be wearing jeans or cotton clothing, on a hike anywhere. You should have water with you at all times, and you should have other things with you at all times. Honestly, up until this year, I never carried water with me. Up until this year, I always wore cotton jeans. I mean, that's just what I wore,
Well,
And then,
I still wear jeans
yeah,
because I feel, for me, when you get where you're bushwhacking and the
oh yeah,
branches and the briar and, you know, I do not wear even shorts, even in the summertime hiking.
right, yep,
I
yep,
like jeans because
hmm
it's that added protection, I feel.
yeah.
The theory behind it, I'm not really sure the theory behind it. I don't understand it. Why can't you wear jeans?
Well, so the interesting thing is like and I didn't really know this up until I don't know 5 or 6 years ago, but basically anything cotton, if it gets wet and you're in cold weather, it holds that wetness and the coldness in, and it doesn't keep you insulated. So it basically it's helping to kill you. It's helping nature. Whereas if you have a synthetic fabric against your skin, it's going to wick the water away from your skin, and or protect it completely from the water, which will help your body stay warmer and dry.
Well, I guess that's why I carry an extra pair of breeches and an extra pair of socks in my backpack. So, I've been doing that,
Yep.
just
Yep.
or have a change of clothes as soon as you come out.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like it really mostly matters in either heavy hiking, or an emergency situation. But the problem is an emergency situation can happen literally at any time. So rule of thumb basically is to definitely have those synthetic fibers, no cotton, no jeans, those kind of things. But I guess what I was getting at was, even though that was a rule of thumb, up until this year, I had never really followed the rule of thumb. Just like you
Yes,
said,
I never did. Not that one, anyways. Always
yeah,
had the extra clothing in the pack, but
yeah. But with you having hiking or trekking poles in your shed and not using them, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, yeah, I should be using them, but you know, I will say there have been a couple of times where if I did have trekking poles, I definitely I probably would not have been injured. And when I say injured, I'm saying like I got some scrapes and bumps, no big deal. But there was one time I was at Barberville Falls, and when you're at the bottom of the falls, it does have some pretty big rocks that you can stand on, like away from the pool anyway. And I didn't realize at the time when I was taking the photos, but I stood up on one of those rocks, and it was a really, really rough surface. But that rock must have been very similar to the rock face up on some of the mountains in the Adirondacks, because it was wet and it was as slick as ice. And I didn't realize it until I had gotten to the top. And yeah, I slid right off, and I had like a big scrape all the way down my arm, everything. Had my camera in hand, so I couldn't really grab onto much. But if I had a trekking pole, I might have been able to at least prop it up against my side to keep me a little more steady, so I didn't slip. So it's really hard to
You gotta watch for those wet, slippery rocks.
I did, and that's the thing. What in your mind, you're thinking, how can sandpaper be slippery, right?
Oh no, I ran
No.
in. I did a lot of water walking, and man, it doesn't matter where you are. Those rocks are moving.
Yeah.
They're slippery, and even the ones that you think are stable to rock hop,
Oh
they're really not always stable.
Yeah.
But we all try it.
Absolutely. And and that's the thing though, is like I was on top of this rock, and I mean it really scraped there. There was no smooth portion of this rock. I mean, it was like a granite, some kind of granite or whatever it was, but it was like sandpaper. I mean, it was literally sandpaper, and it was still slippery, just like ice. So, but yeah, it's pretty amazing. So even that's probably one thing I want to mention actually is at the time I had brand new Merrells on. They had really nice tread. I mean, they were they're not top of the line like hiking shoes by any means, but they're decent. They're decent shoes, and they slipped right. I slipped right off that rock like ice. So
Correct.
yeah. So sometimes it doesn't matter what equipment you have. You're going down no matter what.
Well, even when you think about the pine needles and the leaves and the ice, in all honesty, and the wet rocks, it doesn't really matter what the sole of your shoe actually really is.
Yep, exactly, absolutely. I mean, unless you're wearing micro spikes at all times, which you're not going to do unless it's icy out, or I guess most hikers wouldn't do. I guess. So.
I've never worn a pair of any.
Yeah.
I have crawled downhill, slid downhills on my butt, crawled back up on hands and knees, but I never put spikes on. And I don't think I can do much of that anymore.
Yeah, that's that's awesome. To be honest with you, this year will be the first time that I'll get micro spikes. I may even get some snowshoes. Jess and I generally, and even myself, haven't generally hiked in the snow/ice. Like if it's too deep of snow or too heavy ice, we've always just kind of held off. But I'd like the kids to be able to experience that this year, hopefully. So I might even get them something too.
Well, it's kind of funny you say that, because if you pick a day, it doesn't matter how many feet of snow it is. This is my experience, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably wrong, but I'm very lightweight.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 90% of the time, I'd be always on top of the snow,
nice.
Not putting any holes in.
You're not post-holing?
I've always been able to stay on the top, but the folks that I hiked with, they're like down to their knees, But just use your judgment, the kids, you can get them kitty snowshoes, and they're going to be on top of the snow.
Yeah, true. Very true. And, I think, because I don't know about you, but like for me, I was kind of forced to be outside no matter what the weather was when I was a kid. And I think in some ways it helped me enjoy the weather a little bit more. But then in other ways, because I always had really bad gear, like I had Ames and Walmart, mittens and stuff. So I wasn't warm when I went outside in the cold. And I want to make sure I don't pass that kind of dislike onto the kids, because right now when I go outside, if I'm not completely bundled up, I hate it outside when it's cold and frigid out. And I don't want the kids to have that same feeling.
Probably like you, we were outside all seasons growing up.
Yep.
I would have to say up until a couple of years ago, I mean, if you see all the pictures on my website, I was going in all seasons.
Yeah.
But now I'm finding if it's cold out, I don't have the drive to go hiking.
Okay.
If it's raining out, I don't have the drive anymore to walk in the rain. It used to never bother me. Never.
Yeah.
All season. Okay. But maybe it's age, but I can't get enough layers on.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the rain doesn't bother me unless it's a little bit too heavy. Like by myself, I can do literally whatever. It doesn't really bother me as long as I'm bundled up. I'm good. But like if I've got the kids with me, you know, I'm a little more cautious about, you know, if it's heavy
Get him
rain.
a raincoat.
Yeah, I know. You know what's funny about that is like the raincoats that I got Charlotte, like they're all like plastic. So you try to put them on them, and like the humidity's so high, it sticks to their skin, and they can't even get it on. You know, so I've got to find better ones, I think, or like different ones, not better ones, different ones. So
I have to ask my son where he got me well, it was his raincoat that he got when he was in the military there, but I ended up with it. It's very lightweight.
oh wow,
And it's really awesome with the rain and stuff. And actually, I noticed I could lose a layer with it.
oh nice. Is it like a Gore-Tex or is it like something different?
Oh,
Because I did get a really good raincoat, or a you know all-weather jacket basically several years back, but the thing's so old now it doesn't even work properly.
American Eagle.
Oh no, is it really? That's funny.
American Eagle. But see, and I could, you know, you can like fold it.
Yep.
Really tiny.
Yeah. Oh yeah, geez.
So
Yeah.
you can just stick it in a little pocket of your backpack.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
But that thing is even warm. Doesn't let the wind cut through.
Oh yeah, see, and I think that's like the biggest thing when you're hiking is like if you can find something that'll keep the wind off you, 90% of the time, that's all you need. We were walking on the trails this morning, and while it was still like it was 70 degrees and it still felt chilly, for the kids. So you know, they had sweatshirts on, and it was windy. Just those sweatshirts holding that wind off their skin was all it took to keep them warm again. So it was pretty nice.
Right.
Yeah. So I think I don't know. I'll find them something that they can use when it's raining out. I won't get them ponchos, but I'll find them something.
Hey, well, I've used those too with the kids.
Yeah.
Use those throwaway ponchos.
Yeah.
Smallest little compact thing you can throw in a backpack for a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, the rain's going to start. Throw this on.
Yeah,
don't care. It's a throwaway.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Very true. So, awesome. Well, I mean, it's been about 22 minutes, 23 minutes. So I think we can keep it a light night and end a little bit earlier than we normally do. Is there, like I always do, I'm going to surprise you with you know, do you want to shout anybody out, mention anybody, or give any kudos?
Why do you always give me a blank? I always think that you're going to ask that before it gets to me, but
yeah, I surprise you every time.
You do.
It's funny. It does it to everyone. Once I ask that question, I'm like, oh God, I had someone. I think I'm going to give a shout out because I'm pretty excited about the numbers right now. Just to give you a little bit of time, I'm going to give a shout out to the Steps app, Map My World, because they've been you know, really, really supportive of our map making and, you know, getting us started and getting us on board and everything. And I'm just really happy with the fact that people are joining the app and you know, seem to be having a lot of fun with it. So I'm gonna start with that.
You're going to start with that.
Yeah.
Well, if it wasn't for the community to help us along there, we wouldn't really have it moving along. So
Absolutely.
we did see a lot of feedback and a lot of claps, so that's a good thing.
Yep.
The only thing that comes to my mind is, you know, with our topic of conversation, that families, you know, shout out to all those families that are, you know, taking their kids out on the trails, getting them to learn the new things, get them out there early, you know, because that's a lot of work to take little ones out. It
It is.
really is. But once you start with it, it's a beautiful feeling. It's great to see them
Yeah.
grow up and do that.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like having, because I've got two 4-year-olds. If anybody watches this and they don't know what I have, I've got two 4-year-olds and a 6-year-old right now. I started out at the beginning of this year, starting to take them out by myself. Before this, I would never have thought of doing it because like I was just too. It was too anxious, too whatever. Like I just thought like they couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't keep them safe, but if you have the chance to actually do it, and push yourself, push your bounds a little bit. Uh, hike with friends because it's super, super ultra important to get the kids on the trail while they're young. So number one, they get used to it, but number two, they get used to the elements and everything else that they're going to come across because I like the outdoors. I like the weather, and I don't mind the weather too much because I was pushed when I was a kid to get out there and enjoy it. Um, and I would say probably a shout out to uh, my dad in that case because he was constantly. He didn't have a lot of money when we were growing up, so he would take us to all the uh, state parks and local waterfalls and where we lived in Western New York, there was Letchworth Park and a bunch of other different local waterfalls that we could literally hop in the car and jump to in 5 minutes and just, hang out for the day. So, if I didn't have that experience, then Dig the Falls probably literally would not exist right now. So, so shout out to that too. So anyway, if you're good, Bobby, I'm going to sign off for the night. And
I'm good.
all right,
I'm
excellent.
good.
Well, thanks to all that kind of jumped up and watched for a little bit, and add some comments to our feeds. Catch you later.